You're gonna do some ASMR on her.
Yeah.
We're gonna do just a light brushing.
Whoa! Get out of my head! Welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. My name is Will, and joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and Jon. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Happy to be here once again. Thanks.
I had to mute to catch my breath from Jon ASMRing me. I'm good now.
It was quite something.
Didn't want to huff in
There's a whole new YouTube channel potential. I need to work on that.
Hey, don't forget, don't forget, I was thinking like, hey, you want Jon to whisper sweet nothings in your ear and send a chill down your back for the cost of nothing, for free. Go check out Gen X Grown Up. Where every episode is like a ASMR. Absolutely. Hey, on today's show, we're going to test my foolproof method, guys. Now, you're the fools in this test. I believe it's a
But it's foolproof. So it's even against us even, it's fine.
Even you guys can't break it. I don't know, maybe.
We got to provide some proof.
I mean, in truth, it's something I developed over, some period of time after thorough research, which I could tell you about later. But I'd be curious, because I haven't talked to you guys about this idea, whether or not you could poke any holes in my foolproof method to determine whether a film is also a Christmas movie.
Okay.
And this is the time of year. We've got Thanksgiving behind us now. It's full steam ahead. My family at my house, we try to watch as many holiday films as we can. Do you do the same?
No.
Okay.
There are a select few that I must watch.
Okay.
But like others in my family don't even care. Like I'll watch all the Rankin Bass specials.
Okay.
I'll watch It's a Wonderful Life. I will watch Miracle on 34th Street. And that's about the extent of my must-watch list. But I just sit and watch them by myself. Nobody else cares. I'm like, I'm watching Survivor.
It's really sad to me now.
It's not bad. It's not sad. I get enough joy out of it for everybody. I don't need them there.
Well, yeah, and I guess
I'd watch them with you.
To be clear, you have an adult child, so they might not necessarily be interested in it. I know my adult kid is probably difficult to get them to watch it, but I also have a younger child, and she's usually game for this kind of stuff. So, but it'll be curious because. Obviously, every year my kids get older, and something I started with my older kid that we would try to cram in as many holiday films, and now they've aged out of it. So I don't know. We'll see if the younger one will hang in there still.
When my kids were younger, we would always do the Frosty and the Rudolph and the Year Without a Santa Claus is my all-time top favorite. So yeah, we did that, but it's been a while.
Okay. Miser.
Love that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of films that I like that beyond the 1980s decade. Some I don't know if there's any that predate the 80s, but certainly. There's some in the 80s and then some since that we try to watch. Actually, there are a couple from the earlier than the 1980s because, in our area on the East Coast, Jon, during Thanksgiving, they would show March of the Wooden Soldiers around Thanksgiving time. Or on Thanksgiving, maybe it was, Kat. Did you get that one?
No, I don't. No? I don't have a strong memory of that one or of it being special or.
I don't even know that one.
Okay.
March of the Wooden Soldiers.
It's a Laurel and Hardy adaptation of the Babes in Toyland story. It's pretty short, black and white. I think it's hilarious.
Jon does too.
Like I'm trying to think of a parallel. Like, it's a Three Stooges adaptation of Little Drummer Boy. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I guess when
you play
hear
that drum, shemp.
When you hear, if you hear it in the abstract, it does sound a little strange. But anyway, and there's plenty of whatever. Okay, hey, anyway, we're gonna see. Well, and actually, some of those things that even the holiday specials that you mentioned, I'd be curious. We'll apply my foolproof method and see if we can't determine if those are actually Christmas movies themselves or not.
All right. Anyway. All right.
Before that, we're going to review.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. I actually do have a bone to pick with one of your criteria.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
We'll get there.
I love this.
We'll get there.
Very good. Okay, hey, before we get that,
stay tuned.
Get there though. We're gonna discuss current news stories related to 1980s media, including these stories. Cobra Kai has cast an iconic Karate Kid character in the 6th season coming up. The Christmas Story house has a new owner. Zelda is coming to the big screen, and soon we're going to be able to bust ghosts in Chicago. And I'm actually really excited about that opportunity. Time codes are in the show notes if you'd like to skip a round.
Wow. I totally forgot about reading those.
Kat, that's great, actually. That's actually great. That's actually great because there's some things in here. There's some things in here. I'll be curious to get your just like green, as we tell you the story, opinion and reaction.
Doesn't get more green than this because I
okay. All right.
totally forgot amidst all sorts of other things.
Homework.
Yeah. There's two things that I'd be curious to get your feedback that are better that you weren't prepared. She fell asleep last week, and this week she didn't do any preparation. All right.
I'm such a slag. No.
Oh, okay.
There was not any lack of preparation.
Oh.
I chose to prepare on the movie end of things. Like
okay,
watching
good.
and rewatching. Right. And I completely forgot about that.
She's awake. She consciously didn't do reading. She wasn't asleep.
No.
You're saying some of the Christmas movies we're going to talk about later you watched today?
Last night and today, yeah.
Oh, wow. You're brilliant. Okay, very good.
See?
You're moving to the top of the list, huh?
Okay, forget everything I said. In fact, if you want to nap right now, would be a good time. You deserve it.
Get your energy.
Now, would it be something if she falls asleep later because she was up all night watching movies for the show? Boy.
Poor Kat. Yeah. Okay, Will, stop picking on Kat. We're going to call a moratorium on the making fun of my little sister jokes. Okay,
very good.
Thank you, bro.
Only I am allowed to pick on her.
Okay, very good.
So if you want to pick on her, let me know. And
yes,
Okay,
I'll give you a K for Kat.
It'll.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
just throw your gang sign at me, and I'll harass her.
Hey, before we continue, I wanted to let you guys know something. So I just came across this group. I don't know. The third album of this group called Love in Cage. The third album is called Trans Reality. And to me, I learned a little bit about I exchanged some emails with the songwriter and singer behind this music. And it turns out he's a young fellow, I'm sure. He didn't tell me that part, but I'm guessing that. But it happens to be that he loves music from the 1980s. And I am convinced because I think this band, Love in Cage, this particular album, sounds more reminiscent of the music from the 1980s as I recall, than any other contemporary band that is, 80s adjacent or tries to sound like 80s. Now, in their defense, there's folks that we love that aren't trying to, reproduce something from the 1980s. They're doing, something that's inspired by, Dream Kid is his whole synthwave thing. He knows that's not a genre from the 1980s.
Sure, yeah.
But it still recalls some certain vibe from that. But anyway, Love in Cage, this is how the album is described on the website that I'll give you in a moment where you can get the album. It's the third album from the French Cold and Arty band, between some cold synth electronic tracks, some post-punk anthems, and a deep Lynchian dark rock on the second half of the record. It is a little David Lynchian at the end, some of the songs at the very, very end, but it's still some kind of 80s thing to it, I think, more. And it's described as a perfect marriage of 80s sound and contemporary music. A must-have for wave and cold lovers.
Cold lovers? What?
Yeah, what is cold? Yeah, I hadn't heard of that genre of music. Yeah. So,
it's not hot lovers, I guess.
I hadn't even heard of wave. Like I know synth wave.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard of it. Maybe it's just an abbreviation of synth wave, which I'm okay with. But yeah, I didn't know cold either.
Yeah, now I think really what it is, so yeah, obviously new wave was the first wave we heard back in the 1980s, which was by some accounts a genre of music that was given to peel off some bands that would have described themselves as punk, but their managers and record labels wanted to get them airplay, and calling yourself punk was damaging to your marketing. Right. So they created this new wave category where some bands, again, that could be maybe gone the other way, they started describing them, thusly. Today, flash forward 30, 40 years, we have wave as a sort of overarching or overreaching category with all these subgenres. So synth wave is one of them now. New wave is something else. Dark wave is another thing. And cold wave is yet another. And cold wave, as defined by Wikipedia at least, it says it's a music genre that emerged in Europe in the late 1970s, characterized by its detached lyrical tone, use of early electronic music instruments, and minimalist approach and style. It emerged from punk rock bands who were influenced by early electronic groups such as Kraftwerk.
That's what was popping into my head. I was wondering if Kraftwerk could fall into that category.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
What are you doing?
We don't need any clips.
I had Kraftwerk on a sample. Sound just like it, didn't it?
I didn't. I wasn't sure. Yeah, it was just your phone. Soundboard. You can hear the sort of the sort of how cold is described or characterized here in a couple of clips I wanted to play you from Love in Cage. And again, I'm just a big fan of this. We're not being paid. This is not an advertisement. I heard this music and I dig it. I'll play you 3 different ones to give you sort of you'll see what I mean about the different sort of 80s bands that seem to be invoked, if not consciously. Hear that loose sort of, how it's described as a loose, detached lyrical tone as far as the lyrics go.
Yeah.
I think this song sounds like a French early 9 Inch Nails.
The vocals are a little ethereal.
Yes.
Yeah, a little
like we're hearing them from down a tunnel or something. Yeah. Like there's a space in between. Yeah.
There's some elements of early, synth bands for me there. Maybe his voice sounds a little like Trent Reznor, maybe, and Pretty Hate Machine or something like that era. But you could hear some diversity in these different tracks. I really dig this music.
Ooh, I like this one too.
No, I don't know what he's saying. It's French.
We know you could pronounce it though.
Yes. So this track here is Ma Vie Numérique. And the track I played you first was 2083.
You know what else I hear in there is like about 20% Oingo Boingo.
Yeah, sure.
There's something about the morose approach, it's very this is kind of creepy and we're not being real happy about this song, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But still kind of bouncy.
Very bouncy.
Yeah. I was thinking I think there's some era, maybe early 80s Depeche Mode.
Bouncy like a severed head going down the stairs, bouncy.
That kind of.
All the tracks on this album, which I told you about, Trans Reality, are not synths heavy like this. This other one is, you'll hear just a typical instrumentation you might hear. And again, I don't want to say punk band, but this has a whole other different vibe to it. That a few of the songs on the album that have a different vibe, more akin to this one.
Oh.
To me, this is like Cure.
Yes.
Or Violent Femmes.
Yeah, Cure. Yeah. And these are young musicians? They're 20s, you think?
I'm guessing, yeah. I didn't ask the age, but I'm guessing just based on our correspondence, yeah. Anyway, I dig it. Hey.
That's cool.
If you dig it too, it's available as it's available in every form possible: CDs, vinyl, digital. I just got it as digital, so I can listen to it wherever I go. Via Bandcamp, and I put a link in the show notes there for you to get it as well. All right, check out Love in Cage. All right, look, let's get started on 1980s news.
Yes, let's.
There we go.
I am dying to know.
Let's surprise Kat with the news. Little does she know what the news will be.
I heard Cobra Kai.
Yeah, so speaking of that, this week in 1980s news, Cobra Kai, as I mentioned, has cast an iconic Karate Kid character for season 6. As reported by Deadline, C.S. Lee, who's an actor who's appeared in Dexter and Avatar, The Last Airbender, among other shows and films. He's joined the cast of Netflix's Cobra Kai for its 6th and final season in an iconic role that harkens back to the very first Karate Kid film, according to Deadline.
What a resume. Dexter's like this award-winning, Emmy award-winning series, and The Last Airbender is like this huge flop.
Yes, the worst M. Night Shyamalan film ever. Yeah.
Yes, it's so bad. So I read the article. Kat, any idea who he might be cast as?
It's an iconic... Look, this is from the article. It says an iconic... role from the Karate Kid. The original Karate Kid is how Deadline describes it.
From the first movie. So you mean
this? I'm just reading what it says. Iconic role from the original Karate Kid is what they wrote.
From the original Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Nope.
He's going to play the piling that he was standing on doing the crane kick.
Yep. Yep. Which turns out his name was...
Mr. Miyagi.
No, not Mr. Miyagi. The piling. The wooden piling.
The
wooden piling?
Oh, he's going to play the...
Yes.
The Daniel stood on. He's going to play that piece
apparently that was a guy.
My brain is not.
Dug somebody.
That's one of the only iconic roles left to cast from the original Karate Kid.
That was very, very important.
But I'm kidding you. That's not true.
But you're right, Kat. Mr. Miyagi hasn't been cast yet. And it still hasn't been cast. It's not Mr. Miyagi. No, in fact, according to Deadline sources, Lee will portray Master Kim Sun-young. Remember him?
No.
Nobody does. Nobody knows who that is.
I didn't either.
Why would they say he's an iconic character? This is a bunch of nonsense. This is clickbait, Deadline. Clickbait. Shame on you.
He's a flashback character. That's all.
All right. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't read that article.
Yeah. It turns out Sun-young is a character that has previously appeared only in flashback form. And look, they say it goes back to the original Karate Kid. In reality, based on reading this and then having to do some research to figure out what the fuck are they talking about, is in Cobra Kai, we have these flashbacks where Kreese and Terry Silver are in Vietnam, and they start getting this idea of studying martial arts, and then they decide they're going to come to America to open a school. And the person who's training them is this Master Kim. So we've seen the character portrayed in that flashback by a different actor. Don Lee portrayed the master in the flashbacks in Cobra Kai. But, so if you take that, this is all I can figure. If you take that bit of information there and the fact that they talk about Master Kim having been their master, because there's some dialogue related to that as well. Actually, in the Karate Kid 3, Terry Silver's character says that Master Kim told him he had to apologize to Daniel, something like this, to Daniel for what Kreese did. Kreese is now dead, so Master Kim asked me to come forward and apologize for him torturing you. This is Karate Kid 3, worst Karate Kid. But so if you take all that, we can tie it back to the original Karate Kid only in this way. So seen here,
there he is, on the wall,
a clip,
in a picture,
in the background on a wall, people are saying this is Master Kim.
Okay.
This is, why else would Kreese, and what I'm showing my co-host here is a picture of a gentleman in a martial arts type pose that's in a wall of the dojo of the Cobra Kai from the first film. Now, if we zoom and enhance, it turns out that this picture here is actually a picture of a gentleman named Jun Chong.
Okay.
Who actually is a real life martial arts master. Chong is currently the 10th degree grandmaster in Taekwondo. And after he emigrated to Los Angeles in the 1970s, he opened his own school, which continues to operate today. He had in addition to being a master in his own right, he had his own share of celebrity students, including Philip Rhee, Simon Rhee, Lorenzo Lamas, Sam Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard, Heather Graham, and someone else, which is just totally fascinating to me to tie this all together. This gentleman seen here with Jun Chong. Do you recognize that young man?
Terry Silver.
Yeah, it's Thomas. Yeah, it's Thomas Ian Griffith.
Oh my god!
The actor plays Terry Silver. So, look, this is just happenstance, right? The fact that they hung a picture of this guy to be in the background on a wall in the original film, they knew he was a real master, certainly, because already he had a presence there in L.A. doing this. But that they would later hire one of his students, and then his image would be all right, you get what I'm saying.
Wow.
Anyway, that's just
I think it's awesome that Will thinks he works for CSI now. Zoom and enhance, zoom and enhance. There's infinite resolution if you just keep zooming and enhancing.
Yeah, right?
That was really impressive when his portrait popped on the wall there. Wow. Yeah,
so Chong, in addition to being a martial arts, just again, real life master, made his film debut in 1976. And in 1985, he starting in 1985, he started in a handful of films, occasionally alongside some of his celebrity students. Thomas Ian Griffith posted the picture I shared with you on Instagram in May, saying, me with Grandmaster Jun Chong back in the day. Good times. As you guys know, it was announced in January that the sixth season of Cobra Kai would not only would it be the final installment, but it was going to premiere, we expected, before the end of this year. But the writers' strike delayed the show such that we'll see it now sometime in 2024. We're hoping. They still haven't resumed shooting it yet. Anyway, hey, in other 1980s news, fudge. Should I say, fudge? Only I won't say fudge. After going up for sale nearly 1 year ago, a deal has been reached for new ownership of the iconic Cleveland house used in 1983's A Christmas Story. Now, who actually bought it and how much they paid still remains a mystery.
It's still under wraps? Yeah. Okay.
But the current owner wrote on the property's Facebook page saying, "A Christmas Story house and museum is pleased to announce that we have reached a deal for a change of ownership. We expect to have the agreement finalized by the end of November, at which time we will introduce the new owner." As of recording, we still don't have that information. Brian Jones, though, the seller, purchased the home for $150,000 in 2004 after seeing it listed on eBay.
Wow.
And it was just 2 years later that he opened it to tourists. Last November, he put the house along with the nearby museum and gift shop and the adjacent Bumpus house and 4 additional properties on the market without a listing price.
Oh.
But according to Yano Anaya, I don't know how to say that, Yano. I probably butchered both of your names, but they played a Grover Dill in the original Christmas Story. Okay. At one point, they were part of an investor group that was interested in buying the properties. And according to Anaya, they told Cleveland.com that, quote, Brian's heart was set on $15 million, end quote.
Whoa.
Now, have either of you ever visited the Christmas Story house?
No. And I'll tell you, John, I am like a stone's throw away from it. And no.
You are? Yeah. I only visited because I was traveling there on business and I had a free afternoon or something. But it's a little compound that is the house that they have restored and made to look like it's camera ready. That it never probably looked like that in the first place.
That's right.
I mean, props. There's the life buoy soap is on the sink. I mean, everything, every prop you can imagine. And then across the street, that's effectively, I guess, the Bupkis house. That is like a gift shop and that kind of thing. So, like, I'm sure they're making money there, but justifies the $15 million price.
Yes. Let's keep that in mind as I tell you this. From the house's official website, A Christmas Story house is now restored to its movie splendor. It's open year-round to the public for tours and overnight stays.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So,
oh, my gosh.
And I looked at the rates of the overnight stays. Now, you could, throughout the year, for the most part, you could just stay one night. But there's certain blocks of dates, mostly around the holidays, where you have to stay at least 2 nights.
Oh, and you're committed to 2.
I guess the most sought after date, based on the price, I'm guessing, the rate, is the nightly rate for the evenings December 24th and December 25th. Look, according to this paragraph, this is the nightly rate. So even though it says you have to book both nights, I'm guessing this is the rate for one night. So you got to do this number times 2.
Double up.
Yeah, that is $3,995.
Wow.
So if people are paying that,
I thought it was going to be worse. Really? I mean, it's a whole house.
$8,000.
It's a whole house.
Okay. Oh,
and it's a historic house.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are luxury hotel suites that cost more than that. So it's a one-of-a-kind experience. And I thought you were going to go 10, 20 grand or something.
It doesn't seem like you get the whole house, John, actually. They've divided the house up into 2 suites, the lower floor and the top floor. So you get one or the other.
You only get to stay in the cabinet under the sink.
Yes.
With the soap.
Yeah.
Wow. I love how the house has its own Facebook page. Is that what you said earlier?
It's a huge deal. It's a big deal. Especially for fans of this film. And the film is so popular.
Of course.
For the last, 35 years or so. Now, it turns out, as John mentioned, they made the interior screen ready in the sense that it had an interior, but it didn't match what you see on film because, in fact, they actually shot the interiors on a soundstage in Toronto. But they did shoot the exteriors here in Cleveland, of course, the exterior of that house, the Bumpus house, and a number of other things, including, in fact, the then department store that existed there when they shot this in the early 1980s was called Higbee's, which was in downtown Cleveland. They shot the Christmas, department store scenes there. The opening scene, which Ralphie spies the gun, the Red Ryder BB gun in the store window, that was shot here in Cleveland. The parade scene was filmed just outside there on the main drag there. And when Ralphie and Randy go to see Santa, that was filmed inside the department store. In fact,
how?
The store, in fact, kept the Santa slide, John, that was made for the film, and they used it for several years after the film's release.
Nice.
Higbee's became Dillard's in 1992, and then closed permanently in 2002. Now, in 1995 or 96, I was in Cleveland, and I bought a coat at that Dillard's. And then, starting in 2003, I had an office above. Was it above? I think it was above where the Higbee's was, but now it was, Or maybe it was in the Higbee's.
Did you buy the coat that made you where you couldn't put your arms down? Is that the coat you got?
Yes. And Anyway, there you go. So yeah, if you're in Cleveland, hey, come check out the house. And let me know. I'll come say hi too. There you go. Is that an incentive, John?
Finally, a reason for Will to visit it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stay at your house, Will. Yeah. I'll pass on those rates.
Oh, okay.
Now, one thing you didn't mention that was in that article, which is it makes the whole article kind of a snoozer, which is to the best of their knowledge, the house will continue to operate as it always has before, during, and after the sale.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So looks like there's not going to be a huge impact on the tourism of that house. It doesn't say that a new owner could do whatever they want, but really it doesn't impact your ability to go and enjoy the house. It doesn't seem that it's going to, at least based on what the article said. So
let me just be clear. Let me just understand what you're saying, John. You're wondering why I didn't say a part of the article that was a snoozer.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying there was a part of the article that made the rest of the article a snoozer.
And so you're saying I left out the part that would have made the entire story I just read unnecessary or uninteresting. And you're wondering why I left that out.
Oh. Now
That's
I'm
not
really
exactly
curious.
what I meant, but I mean, not to put too fine a point
It's
on
like
it.
we get to the end of this episode. Hey, John's like, hey, you know what? You didn't say that would have made this whole show suck.
You know what you could have said to save us all an hour and a half?
Or you know what you shouldn't have said? Welcome to 1980s now.
No, do say that.
Oh, okay. Hey, another 1980s news as reported by Entertainment Weekly. Hyrule is going Hollywood. So far, does that mean anything to you, Kat?
What's going Hollywood?
Hyrule. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. Nintendo's announced it's developing a live-action Legend of Zelda film.
Oh, I don't know that much about Zelda.
All right. Well, Nintendo and Sony are co-producing the movie with the Maze Runner filmmaker Wes Ball set to direct. Kat, even though you don't know it, it's been one of the Nintendo's most beloved franchises, stretching all the way back to the 1985 game.
That I do know.
Okay.
Like I'm aware that it's like a huge thing. I just don't happen to,
So does that mean you didn't play it on Nintendo?
I did not play it.
All right.
No.
So it's time to play.
No, not yet, John. Not yet. I know where you're going. Wait, just hold on.
Oh, wait. He's already got the game, and I almost took it out from under him.
It's not exactly. You could do it as a game if you want, but just let's get through some facts first.
Oh, boy.
I've played Zelda back then. I didn't have a Nintendo, so I could only play when I was at my cousin's house.
Sure, yeah.
And it was my cousin was much younger than I was, so he wasn't even that interested in it as I was. So I'd be playing Ghostbusters toys with him instead. Like, hey, you want to play Zelda? No. All right. But I played almost every incarnation since, and the ones that I haven't played, my kids have played. Like my oldest kid grew up on Zelda. And so I watched them play all of them. And it's just really, and the way the last couple are super popular. And they're just they're essentially like a fantasy adventure that you're acting out. So it's really, and they're open worlds where you can pretty much just go wherever you want, but you get all these little quests and side quests to, complete the story. Anyway, so when they first announced that they were, maybe making a live action movie years ago, especially after the success of the last two games, I got really excited, but then nothing ever happened. In fact, we were going to get a series at one point on Netflix, I believe it was, way back in 2015, but that also never materialized. Anyway, Nintendo's moving forward with Shigeru Miyamoto and Avi Arad serving as producers. Miyamoto wrote on social media that he and Arad have been working on the live-action film project for many years now. Of course, look, it's got to be because of the success of the Mario Brothers film that they're encouraged that they can actually do this.
That makes me wonder why you wouldn't repeat that success with Illumination, and Mario did so well. It surprised me that it wasn't going to be an animated film, but they're actually going live action. That surprised me.
Yeah. But didn't we have an animated Zelda like in the 90s maybe or something?
There was a Saturday morning cartoon.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're not though, because I don't know. My hope is it would be more like a Dungeons and Dragons type, Lord of the Rings type high fantasy.
Okay.
And the stakes would feel different, obviously, if it's live action versus if it's animated. And I don't want to hear Chris Pratt playing one of the roles.
Oh
no! That's who they would pick too.
Now Nintendo, as you guys know, has been overprotective. I think you could say overprotective over their franchises ever since Super Mario Brothers bombed in the movie theaters in 1993. I mean, they didn't. It was pretty hands off, and what was actually ultimately delivered was nothing like nothing that resembled Super Mario Brothers at all. And they were like fuck this. We're going home. We're not letting anybody make our shit anymore. This is terrible.
Taking my ball.
Yeah.
You guys play by yourself.
But since then, like when they teamed with Universal to make the recent Mario Brothers movie, they just stay involved. They just stay involved every step of the way. What is this character going to look like? Okay, we're okay with that. Well, who's you going to cast? Chris Pratt? All right, I guess.
We'll see.
Get him for a discount. But anyway, so far the details are scarce on what the Legend of Zelda movie might look like or who might star in it. But last year, before this was even announced, when digital artist Dan Lavelle fooled a number of fans by using AI software Midjourney to cast Emma Watson as Zelda, there was an outcry that's best represented in this tweet, Kat, which has a glaring omission or a glaring error for the fans of Zelda.
Oh boy.
This was this person's issue and a number of others. I know she's from a game and I have no issues with representations, but making Zelda a girl is a bit too much.
Okay.
What?
What's it, John? What was your game, John?
Kat, it's time to play.
You gotta be kidding.
So this is for Kat. Kat,
John.
can you name the protagonist of the Legend of Zelda video game series?
Aren't they dressed in green? It's somebody in green.
That's right. They're dressed in green.
That's
we got a low
closer
bar,
than
John.
most people get, Kat. Well done.
I only know this because somebody dressed as the character from The Legend of Zelda at one of my kids' Halloween party or whatever, and I'm trying to remember the name.
That tweet illustrates a very uninformed view that most people have looking at gaming from the outside. They go, Legend of Zelda, you must be Zelda. Well, no, you're playing a character named Link.
Link.
You are trying.
Yes. All right.
And you're working to work for or rescue or satisfy a quest for the Princess Zelda.
Okay.
You are not Zelda. And so this tweet where, how dare you cast Zelda as a female? Zelda's a female.
I get it.
It's totally fine.
Wow. That's,
I've caught myself saying it incorrectly, years ago, where it's like,
early on.
I wonder if we need to refer to Link.
Yeah.
Since 1986, there's been more than 25 different games in the series, usually centering on the hero Link, but they've done some little bit of, changing that around here and then. Here now and then when you play as Zelda, for example, who wields the famed Master Sword and fights to protect the, this says Hylian. It's not Hyrulean? This has got to be a typo, right?
It's Hylian. No, you're right.
Hylian?
Yep. Hyrule. Yeah. The inhabitants of Hyrule are Hylians.
Oh, yep. Never caught that. The Hylian Princess Zelda from the villain Ganon. Who always comes back. He just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like a Bowser.
Yeah.
It's like, you beat him, but he'll be back next game.
And there's some kind of crazy mythology that explains like how he can come back, and some of it's some timey-wimey stuff that's involved, and some of them it's really layered and fun, especially if you play him all.
He's like borderline deity in that like you can kill the form that manifests, but he is the representation of evil, which always kind of exists, I guess.
Wow.
I haven't played the most recent one, but unlike you, I haven't played them all, but I played several when I was younger. And then like the first one that came out on the Switch, I bought a Switch for that game to play Breath of the Wild because it's just so, and I didn't regret my purchase. Not at all. It was great.
It's beautiful too. I mean, the art, the animation, oh my gosh.
It sort of seems like maybe one could feel kind of pessimistic or cynical because it's like, well, I'm going to beat this villain, but it doesn't matter. He's just going to come back again. Oh. Man, that's sort of depressing.
Yeah. To get into it, it's just too nerdy. All right. Too wonky.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, point taken.
What's that?
Hey. In other 1980s news, as reported by Variety, an immersive Ghostbusters experience is coming to Chicago. I think this is a next road trip for us in 2024. Fans will soon be able to bring their ghost-busting fantasies to life thanks to Sony Pictures' first ever immersive entertainment destination, set to open in Chicago next year. Named Wonderverse, the 45,000 square foot experience will allow audiences to step into the worlds of company films, series, and video games, including Ghostbusters, Bad Boys, Zombieland, Jumanji, and Uncharted. On offer will be a mix of themed physical and immersive multimedia experiences, interactive installations, attractions, and dining options, including escape rooms, VR, and bumper cars, as well as bars and restaurants. And after 8 p.m., Wonderverse will transform into an adult-only venue, open to guests aged 21 and over.
Wow.
No. Oh, I thought you were doing a strip club thing, John. Like
that's what I thought too.
No, I was not. Next to the stage, candy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't we just? Who else just earlier this year?
Yeah.
Was it Universal? Someone was doing like a huge themed.
Oh yeah, Mattel.
Like indoor park.
Mattel, yeah.
Mattel, right? But it was like in Arizona or somewhere because indoor because it's hot as hell there.
It's out in the desert.
Yeah.
Yep.
So another like entertainment compound almost that I've because Universal's doing something too in Texas I saw. And now this. So interesting. It's the new thing, the new hotness.
I want the bumper cars. I am all about those bumper cars.
Check this out. I got some details for you, and some of them are beyond Ghostbusters, but they're all interesting. I think Ghostbusters. So the Ghostbusters one is a Virtual Reality Academy and Ghost Trap Bar. There's two VR experiences. One called Arena, which allows fans to suit up with proton packs and bust some ghosts, while the other, called Blitz, enables audiences to jump into the Ecto hovercraft and go for a spin.
Oh, I knew it.
The Ghost Trap Bar will also be open to those who fancy something with a bit of spirit. So what you want, Kat, is, let's see, not the bad boys.
Spirit, like booze.
Yeah. Let's see. You got your Bad Boys is a racing simulator. That's not the one I read about. Oh, here it is, Kat. The Zombieland bumper cars.
Oh, Zombieland.
But check this out. Not your typical bumper car ride. In this version, one driver is chosen as patient zero. And with each bump, infects other cars.
Somebody? Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
So you want to not be infected by someone who's already infected? I can imagine like some like glowing red or blue lights on the cars to show if you're infected. That's a new take on bumper cars. Right? I thought we'd done everything you could do with bumper cars at this point. That's a neat idea.
John's keeping a list.
Yes, he does. I'm ready. There's a spreadsheet on bumper cars, right?
There are only so many ways to make whiplash exciting.
Mm-hmm. Right. Fellow riders must try and avoid the infected cars at all costs. Yeah, there you go.
Oh. All right, that sounds fun.
The Jumanji, and there's also a Jumanji Reverse the Curse, a virtual reality game in which players must find the stolen jewel to stop evil spreading and reverse the curse. All of these sound pretty fun to me. I'm into this.
Yeah.
And I'd love to step into the Ecto one in particular, but
I don't know. Wear a proton pack.
It's located just outside of Chicago at the Oak Brook Center. Wonderverse is set to open next month, that is December, with a soft opening, and then with an official opening in January. Entry to Wonderverse is free with attractions individually priced. Oh, that's kind of cool. You only pay for what you do once you get in there, I guess, but you don't have to pay to get in, like a theme park.
Well, because I'm sure they probably have shops and restaurants and stuff they want you to go to outside of the attractions. So
yeah, and you remind me, John, that article that we talked about Mattel's theme park with the Bone Crusher, or whatever that was. That article had talked about how what they called them like micro theme parks was right. It's a trendy new thing that's popping up all around the country, different areas.
What happened to Kat?
Now it's coming back to me.
Bone Shaker.
Didn't that turn into an OnlyFans account?
Okay.
Oh
yeah. Coming back.
Yeah, right. He had two different ones: Dark Underbelly and Bone Crusher.
Dark Underbelly and
Bone Shaker might have been another one. Yeah.
John's always hustling. All right, hey, speaking of hustle, let's hustle out of 1980s. Hey, I know it doesn't sound like it because our show sounds so damn good, but we don't have a big corporate sponsor or a giant podcast network behind us. No. In fact, this show is brought to you week after week with the generosity of folks just like you, listeners who give us $1 or $2 or more every month to help us pay all the different bills associated with creating a wonderful show about the 1980s. To find out how you can support our show with $1 or $2 or the many free ways to help our show, visit 1980snow.com/support. Whatever you do, thank you so much.
I feel so much more informed.
All right, here's your chance.
Oh,
we've got a list of I got a lot of movies here, but I don't know. Maybe we'll pick some that are representative. I guess will give us an idea of what we're talking about, and maybe we'll pick some others that we just want to test this out on.
Okay.
All right. Hey, as we mentioned earlier, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about certain movies that are regarded by folks among our friends, family, and in particular, some that I lifted off the internet where these different websites are suggesting, hey, here's a non-traditional Christmas movie. Or, hey, such and such is a Christmas movie. Trying to cause all this hubbub and get clicks. Kind of like that. Kind of like an iconic character from Karate Kid being Kat.
Karate Kid, yeah.
Clickbait. But so what I did, I looked at a bunch of articles from popular magazines like Entertainment Weekly, Men's Health. These are things that I've written over the years. I looked at for professional guidance from screenwriting trades like Screenwriting Magazine, Screencraft, statistical analysis from data scientists where folks analyze like words and.
Oh my!
John, you should appreciate this part. A spreadsheet was involved.
There was a spreadsheet.
And ultimately, I synthesized.
I think what makes a Christmas movie cannot be quantified in that way, I'm afraid. But okay.
No. I've got some examples for you where there's certain numbers we can use.
How many ho-ho-hos were there?
Yes.
You have a quota.
Yes. John, yes.
No. I say no, Will.
Okay. Well, we'll see what you have an issue with in just a moment. But ultimately, synthesizing these different resources. Look, I didn't get it right the first time. I had to hone it over time and then test these different criteria against, a number of films to see if it jived with what I thought intuitively and what other folks thought too, as far as whether or not a film was a Christmas movie or not. And then
science. And
then I applied it to films that are controversial with regard to that question and just had a definitive answer that I had to live with. Anyway, so here's the 4 criteria.
Are you still living with the definitive answer?
Yeah. What do you mean? This is solid.
More importantly, Kat, you and I are about to have to live with it. So.
Well, that's right. Okay. Which is funny that I have to live with it.
Look, the 3 of us, I have never spoken to you 2 guys about this. So I trust you to the extent you could poke holes in this or have suggestions as to tweak it. If we can come to some kind of consensus that makes sense, I reserve the right to veto it and just delete this episode entirely.
Because he doesn't want to live with it.
We'll adjust it. Okay, so here's the 4 criteria. 1, pretty easy to determine. Is it set at Christmas time? That's the easy one, right? Really easy.
It should be easy to answer.
Right, now this one's a little squishy. Chronology. This is a little squishy, admittedly. Is it Christmassy? Because look, something could be set at Christmas, and I have some examples here, but it doesn't feel like a Christmas movie just because it's absent all the different indicia of a Christmas film.
Okay.
Imagery.
Like
music.
Rocky IV comes to mind. Like it happens at Christmas.
Right.
But it's not Christmassy at all, right? I must break you. Ho, ho, ho.
Is it about family? That's pretty easy. Okay. Mostly it's going to feature a family. It's going to be focused on the relationship of the characters. And it could be family, quote unquote family, because there's lots of ways to define family.
Right. Chosen family versus biological.
And finally, and I think this is this is maybe the most important one. Is it a tale of redemption? Is there a character there that, is changed come the end of it? Some perspective, some attribute they had at the beginning is different. And I think, I didn't realize this, until after I crafted this, was that, the easiest thing to think about in the context of Christmas films is the story of A Christmas Carol, which of course started as a book and then ultimately made in different media. Think of Scrooge, how different he is from the beginning by the end. Different outlook on life, treats people differently as a result.
And this is the one that I have a bone to pick with. And we can explore it throughout the course of the rest of talking about the films, but I don't know. I think you can qualify the other 3, not have a story of redemption and still be a Christmas movie.
Okay.
All right.
I think it's nice for a tiebreaker, but I think maybe that is not even a steadfast requirement.
Well,
I could be wrong. We'll find out.
Well, on the end, I'll be curious about if you have examples of films that are, is it one of those films on the list that you think there's no redemption, but it's a Christmas movie?
Not necessarily. I think that's a common denominator.
Okay.
And I think I understand why you would use it as a litmus test. And I was looking for an example that I could use, but I can think of.
I think I have one.
Yeah, and I think I have a film we could talk about at the end that meets all your criteria and is clearly not a Christmas movie.
Okay.
All right. I can't wait to hear that. Okay.
Fascinating. Kat, you said you think you have one that's meets the other criteria except the redemption?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
I'm curious to know what you think too.
Just to be clear, because other folks on these different places I checked out and other folks on the internet that want to argue one movie is a Christmas movie or not, I tossed out some stuff that's just straight up strawman, like the release date. That only informs us when the studio thought they were going to make the most money. So the fact, for example, that so here's a real great example: Miracle on 34th Street, which most folks would contend is a Christmas movie, and I don't think I would argue with that. It was released in the summer of 1947. And that could be true. That could be said of a number of films, including some on our list. And also, it doesn't matter what the people who worked on the film said.
Okay.
Because we've got some films where the director said, I didn't mean this to be a Christmas movie. Or some actors who say it was a Christmas movie. We don't care. The only thing that matters is the 4 criteria.
So intent does not matter, because I was thinking of that.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to research it and I didn't. What was the intent of the filmmaker? Along with not reading the news, I also didn't do this. What was the goal? Was there a goal as far as we want this to be a Christmas movie, so we're not caring about that? That's right.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life had a similar path to fame as a Christmas movie. If you ever watch a documentary on it, it's fascinating. They didn't even market it as a Christmas movie.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Because they felt it would not perform well as just a Christmas movie. They instead marketed it very differently. And now it is a by God Christmas movie.
Yeah.
But it's not that wasn't, again, not their intent.
They released it. The people who made these movies released them. They created them and released them. And then we get to have a say. And yeah.
All right. So, hey, look, we've got a list here. And look, we're going to mix it up. There's some on here that I think most folks would consider Christmas. Most folks wouldn't. Some that are controversial, and some films that, to be honest with you, I've mulled over quite a bit in the development of this criteria, and others that are just. Again, I searched for some other lists of non-traditional Christmas films or straight-up Christmas films that I haven't considered and put them on here just so we could, again, test the bounds of this criteria. Let's start with one that is many people consider a Christmas movie, although, I guess and it might give us an idea of what we're talking about with regard to this criteria.
Okay.
And that film is Trading Places. You guys fans of the movie?
Yes.
That was my rewatch last night. It had been
starring Jamie Lee Curtis. I'll just point out.
Oh, I made a great show of that. Yes, with my watching partner. John's really into Jamie Lee Curtis.
Wait,
Good movie.
I just misheard maybe two things. I thought first you said starring Jamie Lee Curtis as if it was maybe a possessive or a plural.
Oh,
and then you said something just now
singular.
where I thought you just said it's a really good booby. Was
movie.
either of those?
I said movie.
Okay,
I said singular Curtis, and I said movie.
There was crosstalk. I wasn't sure.
Perhaps
maybe I have a stuffy nose and it sounds like saying movie when I say movie.
Just some production details here. It was released on June 8th, 1983. Again, talking about summertime.
Yeah.
And directed by John Landis. Of course, it starred Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis. Says, and others. And it's a twist on Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper. In this modern day retelling, the wealthy Duke brothers switched the lives of the destitute Billy Ray Valentine, played by Murphy, and the well-to-do Louis Winthorpe III, played by Aykroyd, to settle the old age argument of nature versus nurture. All right, here's the criteria, right? Well, I'll tell you what. What do you guys think just off your gut? What do you think? How would you characterize this Christmas movie or no?
I think yes.
Yeah, I feel yes.
I don't feel strongly about it, but I feel good about it.
Yeah. That's a great way to say it, John. It's not like, oh my God, yes. It's like,
It's not the Christmas movie mountain I'll die on, but I do feel that it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's just put it through the computer here. Is it set at Christmas time?
Yes.
Yeah. Although it does conclude on New Year's Eve, it does open sometime after Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Sure.
Is it Christmassy?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not hit you over the head Christmassy, but there's plenty of Christmassy visuals that happen throughout the whole film.
Yep. Yeah.
Decorations, ornamentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got at least 4 Christmas songs, and the script refers to the holiday 21 times. John, see that we did some.
Does it?
Math
wow.
And although it's the most disgusting part of the film, we do see Louis dressed as an early day bad Santa, decades before it was in vogue, trying to eat a salmon through his beard or whatever.
That scene, I was like, he is the worst looking Santa ever. And yes, he has the salmon in his coat. Another one is in his beard.
Yes, and we have also have the perennial gift, thanks to the pause button, of Jamie Lee Curtis's Jingle Bells. Is it about family?
Zoom enhance.
Yes. We're on the next question.
Yeah,
here.
family.
I wrote, yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I was
John, get back.
What were the questions? Plural. I said yes to family because it's a chosen family.
Yeah.
I will capitulate to the family issue. That's fine.
Is it a tale of redemption?
Yes.
It absolutely is, but doesn't matter. That's kind of where I'm going with that. On those first 3, it's already a Christmas movie for me. Okay. I think the redemption is nice, and it's traditionally happens. And the redemption is almost always the Scrooge you mentioned. Someone who hates becomes someone who is empathetic. When Christmas movies have redemption, very often it is that, because that's the whole idea. It's like, oh, you get the Christmas spirit in you, but I don't think that's mandatory for it to be. I already thought it was before we got to the redemption, but I agree there is a redemption.
That's cool.
I guess then, John, what you're going to have to be able to, like you said earlier, show is that you can show us a film that we think is, it's definitively Christmas, even though it doesn't have that element. And I'm not aware of one offhand.
That's what I have in my head, though.
Right. Yeah. Kat has that one. I have the other type. But yes, we'll cover those.
Okay, very good. So, all right. So, conclusion is this is, in fact, a Christmas movie.
Yes, I agree. Yep.
All right, so Billy Ray weighs in on that. All right. Hey, all right. Let's talk about, all right. So, this is one. All right. Santa Claus the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you about Santa Claus the movie. Did you guys remember this movie?
I don't really remember it.
Only barely. Only barely. It's the one with the guy that played Arthur is in it as an elf, right?
Dudley Moore. That's right. Yep.
Dudley Moore. There we go.
Dudley Moore.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I think partly for us, it's not of our generation. It did come out in 1985, but we were too old, I think, and had different perspectives on Santa Claus by this point that we would probably be enamored by it. So we saw for what it was. Shit. Now, my wife, who is a few years younger than I am, she loves this movie. She loves it because, she was younger and had that's right, I'm married to a younger woman. She had a different perspective.
She has a thing for Dudley Moore's.
Yeah. She does love Arthur also. That's true. And Arthur, too, Love on the Rocks.
Yeah.
But look, it's undisputable. It was a bomb at the box office. It has mostly negative reviews, and undoubtedly it has some kind of Metacritic score of in the low 10s or something like that. But it was directed by Jeannot Swark, who directed Jaws 2, Supergirl, and Somewhere in Time. In fact, we talked about a long time ago how the reason he directed Supergirl is because Christopher Reeve was originally supposed to be in it as Superman, so he asked his buddy from Somewhere in Time, who directed him there, hey, you want to come direct this other movie? And then ultimately, Christopher Reeve was like, this is going to be garbage. I am out.
Oh, no.
But you keep directing it. That's cool, dude. Go ahead, dude.
And it was written by David and Leslie Newman and produced by, who also worked on Superman, and Alexander and Ilya Salkin, the father and son producing duo behind those films as well. And there's a great article in Forbes from I think it was like 2015, where someone compares this movie, Santa Claus the movie, with Superman the movie, which has 90% of its creatives working on it. They took almost beat by beat Superman the movie and just applied it to this film.
Really?
They just made it Santa Claus?
Yeah. I mean, you've got the origin story. You've got him coming into his powers. You got the introduction of the villain. You have the climax where he's got to defeat the villain.
Wow.
And then if you just think about even higher level, so many similarities between Santa and Superman, right? They both wear red. They both fly around the world at the ridiculous speed. They both live in the north. They both have, frozen fortresses of solitude in a sense.
They both love milk and cookies.
I was going to say something about cookies in there.
Yes. Kryptonite, all those things.
In fairness, Superman is not an original story either. The story of the hero, the origin, and then the rise to power, and then defeat the villain. So, yeah.
That's true.
But it's an interesting comparison with the two comparable creative teams that they would follow the mold so closely. I get that.
Anyway, back to our test here.
I just added it to my watch list because now I'm curious.
Kat, do not watch it. I'm telling you right now, do not watch it. You got to trust me. I don't know what you think is the worst movie you've ever seen before. It's as bad as that one. Even in your rose-colored glasses world, you saw a movie that you wanted those 2 hours back. Please, I just had to be.
The Druid with what's his face in it.
I don't know.
The guy that you pronounced Lambert.
Oh, Lambert.
Oh, worst movie ever. Okay.
Anyway, just for the plot, it's what we talked about. It depicts the origin of Santa Claus and his modern-day adventure to save one of his elves, who's the Dudley Moore character you mentioned, John, who's been manipulated by the unscrupulous toy company executive Lex Luthor. I mean, John Lithgow. Anyways, clearly it's set at Christmas time. It's definitely Christmassy.
Okay.
Is it about family? Kind of like we talked about Trading Places. It's sort of a found family. Santa and Mrs. Claus don't have a family at the beginning, but they're ultimately rescued by these elves. And so the elves become part of their family. And then throughout the story, there's these young kids that are embroiled in the story that become sort of like quasi kids to them. They're not raising them, but they become sort of parental figures to these kids who have otherwise bad, lives and adults in them. Is it a tale of redemption? Now here already, like you were saying, you don't need this, but look, this is Santa Claus the movie, John.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a tale of redemption in this movie.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where I'm going, is that if you find a way to lawyer your way into saying that Santa Claus the movie is not a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It is. Perhaps it's not a good one or one that meets your criteria. But it's a Christmas movie.
All right. You know what, John? You're right. Maybe that's all we need to do. Although I'm looking forward to debating this with you later. Maybe that's the fine tuning we need to make. Is it a good Christmas movie?
Now, I think you have a point there. I think redemption definitely adds something to the ennui of a Christmas movie. It makes it more impactful. The same thing that family adds to a Christmas movie. Yeah. I think you could have a fine Christmas movie without family, maybe, but the family element makes it more heartfelt and makes it a good Christmas movie, right? You could maybe have a Christmas movie of a guy stranded on an island. Wilson! And it could be no family, no redemption in June, but I think there's potential, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I think you go.
But it wouldn't be a good Christmas movie. It wouldn't be good.
No, that's too far. I think you have to get in the realm of Christmas.
I got to push back against, you're just so sure. We have to make sure we
I think, look.
Steel, hardened steel here.
I think the first three gets us to Christmas movie. The fourth one gets us to good Christmas movie. Maybe.
Yeah, that works.
Possibly.
For me.
Possibly.
Okay.
And then your, what's that guy's name? Castaway example. It doesn't meet any of the other criteria.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about another one here. Let's see. We'll get you guys in here. Well, what else do you care to? All right. Gremlins, a very different film. It's definitely, folks online say it's a Christmas movie.
It's very Christmassy in music and lots of visual shots and lots of, like, so much of the content is Christmas. It's actually
the first two were gimmies then, Kat, right? I mean, it's Christmas time. It's Christmassy.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm willing to relinquish this criteria altogether to even suggest. I would rather. I'm holding back here. I might suggest Santa Claus the movie is not a Christmas movie. I'm gonna say I want to get through all this. Then I'll let you know.
It's not a good one, but okay. All right. Well, so on Gremlins, though, would you agree Christmas time and Christmassy, Will? At least those first two. Can we clear those hurdles?
Oh yeah, the film opens with the
easy peasy
Randall buying a Christmas gift.
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Life is playing on the TV.
Tons of imagery. Christmas is mentioned 15 times throughout the script.
There's creepy Silent Night music when they're walking through the town.
Santa's referred to 4 times, although I think it might be entirely mentioned as part of that terrible monologue that Kate gives about her well-intentioned father's demise.
Yeah. It was horrific.
So just as some production notes here, is directed by Joe Dante, the great Joe Dante, written by Chris Columbus. Yeah, that Chris Columbus. Who the film was released in June of 1984. Again, that's no matter as far as determining whether. So yeah, okay. Family?
Yes.
Not really. I mean, what's the family?
Well, the kid.
I mean, it features a family, but is there a family dynamic?
Yeah. Is it about families? The locus of the story involve a family. It could be a put together family, or would you say found family? As you say, Kat.
Yeah, you could stretch it to found family because Kate and what I just watched this. What's his name?
I don't know, Billy.
The teenage
just
boy.
because they're
Billy.
Dating. I don't know if that's
necessarily. Well, they weren't. They just start. They come together. They weren't, and so they're bonded now over this traumatic experience.
I feel like then you could say any movie where 2 people go through the same experience is a family. I don't know. It's not a Fast and Furious film. I don't know that I would go that far.
All right, Vin. There are 2 things that I want to say. One is I want to say what makes this a Christmas movie because I feel in my core that it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also don't feel like I don't necessarily feel that E.T. is a family movie, a movie about family. It features a family and we see a family dynamic, but it's not. I don't see it as a movie about that family so much as it is a movie about the boy, and we're not talking about E.T., right? So Gremlins less so even than E.T.
Okay.
I could see an argument that it's not family focused necessarily.
Right. No,
they have
a
family, but it's not about the family, right? Like Stranger Things. They have families. We see them once in a while, but the show is about their adventures, not their family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay. That's fine. Yes, I agree with you in that regard. Not necessarily about E.T., but we're talking about Gremlins, so we could.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll just punt. Is it a tale of redemption? Is that less controversial?
No.
Yeah, I don't know who's redeemed. Who's changed by the end?
There's even a Scrooge character in there, that Mrs. Deagle, and then she ends up dead.
Yeah, that's the lesson learned.
Lesson learned, don't be a bitch.
Yeah. And Billy doesn't have any girls. In fact, the shop owner shows up back at the end to take the Mogwai back.
And he says, you're not ready.
Yes, exactly. All right. So
it never will be.
So look, for me, based on this, it's not a Christmas movie. Is this a one that you, John, in spite of the fact that the way we did the math here, you're still willing to say it's a Christmas film?
Again, not a Christmas mountain I'm going to die on.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll tell you, at Christmas time, I don't go watch Gremlins because I'm dying to see it as a Christmas film. There are plenty of more Christmassy films that I enjoy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have some rose-colored glasses for it because of when I was exposed to it and kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't care if it's a Christmas movie or not. And so I'm happy to go with your criteria and say it's not, because I have no horse in the race. It's fine with me if it isn't.
Very good. Right. Billy Ray?
Get the out.
All right. So that's not a Christmas movie. All right. Let's talk about, we just talked about this in the news. Let's talk about A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, for folks who don't know, it was released in 1983. It was directed by Bob Clark and is based on some of the writer Gene Shepard's semi-fictional anecdotes. Set in the 1940s, focused on a young boy named Ralphie who attempts to convince his parents and everybody else who'll listen that a Red Ryder Range 200-shot BB gun is the perfect Christmas gift.
Oh, well, okay. Maybe this is the one.
Okay.
All right, so can I run through this one? Here we go. So,
please.
Happens at Christmas time?
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is it Christmassy? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's full of Santa going to the mall, ho, ho, ho. What do I want for Christmas? Christmas break, all that's happening. Mm-hmm. Is it about family? By God, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
His dynamic with his father, how that evolves, and how the mother protects them from the fathers. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say rage, but his inappropriate behavior. You gotta, just don't talk to your father right now. Like I think mothers often did in the 40s, or were portrayed as such in media.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the redemption here? I don't know. There's growth.
Yeah.
There's personal things, but there's not like a bad guy that becomes no longer a bad guy.
Good point.
Yeah.
In my mind.
I've got some ideas, but maybe they're a stretch. Yeah.
So I feel this might, this is not the one we were thinking about, but this might meet the criteria of it's a by God Christmas movie, but I don't see any redemption in it necessarily. And it's a good Christmas movie, I would assert. So if you feel that there is some redemption, I'm curious to hear. Yeah. So two questions for you. Answer them in whatever order you want. Do you feel in your bones this is a Christmas movie? And secondarily, yes or no with that, where do you feel the redemption lies if that's required for the Christmas movie-ness of it?
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like my criteria is starting to fall apart. I think this might be the 1-2 punch. Like, how could I really dismiss Santa Claus? He's waving his hands in victory. The Santa Claus, the movie, dismiss it as not a Christmas movie just because it's shit and doesn't have redemption. And this film, too. Because my gut, you're right. I feel like this is a Christmas movie. But I guess then it comes down to how you define a Christmas movie. And for me, I guess I define it by needing to have that. But I see what you're saying. I
think what it does have is all of those things develop.
Yeah.
Not the Christmas, the Christmassiness. Ralphie gets a new outlook on what Christmas means and what it's about. So he grows, not redeemed, but he grows.
Yep.
The relationship with his family grows and matures.
Yes.
Nobody was bad. It needs redemption, but everyone is better at the end of the movie than they were at the beginning, I think. Even the bully is better at the end of the movie than they were at the beginning. But I don't think there were no bad guys in this movie. It was just people, being a family, and they became closer and had more respect for one another at the end than they did at the beginning. And all of that, I think, makes it, the family element evolves and is wonderful. And that might be one of the mountains I will die on for Christmas movies. If you want to kick that one out, fisticuffs.
I think
I'm not kicking it out.
Yeah, I think. So I think how we get to this criteria, right, is find films that we think are definitively Christmas and then see how we can capture them in something that doesn't capture too much.
And then Will sees how he can shit on them.
and then make sure the criteria isn't so broad as it captures a film that we wouldn't, like Gremlins, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's see. So growth, John, I think I might go with you. Maybe redemption's too strong or too narrow. I agree with you because there's definitely growth. The father, the Ralphie, the mother, everybody's got some growth.
Emotional growth.
Emotional.
I think that's the linchpin.
Okay.
Which is redemption-y. Emotional growth is a component of redemption, but maybe you don't need to go the full mile to redemption.
Right. It's redemption light. It's just sort of more, there's no real big highs or lows.
Half the calories, all the flavor.
Redemption adjacent.
Level. Yeah.
So, but we got to test it though. Yeah. Does Gremlins have emotional growth that would now suck Gremlins in and we'd be like, whoa, okay, that's too far. Billy or I think still we're safe. I think we're good.
He's still not ready.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not ready.
He had an adventure. He was a little irresponsible. He did his best, but I don't think he's a better person. He's just, he's a month older, that's all.
Yeah. All right. I agree.
He was already a good person. That was a terrifying Christmas movie, if we're calling it a Christmas movie. But
which I'm not.
Okay.
No.
Merry New Year!
All right. Now look, based on what we just learned here, I want to throw a movie in here that maybe challenges or another sort of element of what we just talked about as far as emotional growth.
Audible. I
and
love
we'll stick with emotional growth.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to talk about 1989's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which was directed by Jeremiah Chechik and written and co-produced by John Hughes. It was the third film in the franchise. I think it's one of the two best, right? The first one and this one are probably the best.
Vacation European and then Christmas, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was great. You saw, the original stars reprised their roles. Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, and others. In IMDb sums it up thusly. The Griswolds' family plans for a big family Christmas predictably turns into a disaster. Now we can tear through these to get to the one that, again, we seem to be mostly hung up on. It's definitely Christmas, set at Christmas time. You know that from the outset. It's definitely Christmassy. Holy cow. Just chock full.
Yeah.
I got that.
Christmas dinner, decorating the outside of the house, getting the Christmas tree, all these things.
Oh, yeah.
Is it about family? It's a family dinner.
Yeah.
Multi-generational, extended family, so on. So we get to redemption. And look, so far, we'd say it's a Christmas movie, okay? Or John would say it's a Christmas movie. But if John's willing to say that we need emotional growth, I'm not sure if we have that, except for asterisks. And here's the audible that I'm calling here, or the how we challenge this. Clark is the same throughout it, and he's the protagonist, right?
Yeah.
We do, however, have this Scrooge character in his boss, Mr. Shirley. Because if you remember, Clark's going to use the bonus he's expected to get, because he got it every year, to install an in-ground pool for his family. And he's just, throughout the whole film, he keeps checking where the status of his bonus is, only to ultimately learn this year the company changed the bonus, and instead he got a subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club.
Right.
So Cousin Eddie kidnaps the boss, played by Brian Doyle Murray, threatens him, and ultimately he has emotional growth. He has redemption. Yeah. But a tertiary character that comes in at the third act, almost in the denouement of the film, I mean, that seems too remote to me to say this is emotional growth.
I hear you.
I'm going to say it counts as a Christmas movie because I feel like the first three are strong enough. And I know a lot of people do count it as a Christmas movie. So that whole, the audience having a say in it is important. But, and I saw it within the past couple of years again, and I just, I'm hearing you say the emotional growth. I couldn't have called it up though on my own. Yeah. I could not have said, there's this redemption or that growth. So that really wasn't super strong, I don't think. Yeah.
So as I think through it, so Kat, your argument, which I like, which is if the other criteria are strong enough, it might compensate for a weak fourth criteria, which I get. And I don't have a dog in this race at all. I don't care about this movie. It's okay. It's not one of my favorites or anything. So I want to preface that before I sound like I'm reaching for straws right here. So you're right that this tertiary character is, but he's not just introduced in the third act.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
His existence and actions cast a shadow across the entirety of the film.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's only that he becomes present and does anything that we know about in the end of the film. So I think I entirely agree with Kat, but for half of the reason that I agree with her and half of the reason that I think if you just brought a character in at the last minute, and by the way, he's a better guy, right? That would be worthless. But this is a character that is present throughout the film, or at least his presence is felt.
It's a good point.
I'm trying to think of an analogy. Or in The Hobbit, Smaug, his presence felt throughout the film, felt throughout the book. Mm-hmm. We don't really see him till the end. If he had some kind of emotional growth, would we give a shit and say that to find the movie for us?
I think we would if it has an impact on the story.
Yes.
He decided to give the gold to everybody, and
right. He said, "You know what? I got like a dozen of these rings. Y'all want one?"
Yeah, you're right. What was I thinking? Merry Christmas. What day is it, boy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's too remote for me.
So you think National Lampoon's Christmas is not a Christmas movie, Will? Is that what
it's not that I think it, it's that Billy Ray thinks it.
Get the out!
Okay.
I don't know. Look, we got to have criteria.
Is this a good or is this the good versus bad Christmas movie? Is that what we're looking at here? Really?
By the way, just as an aside, I love this movie. I watch this one every year.
I wasn't clear on that. I mean, you're calling it not a Christmas movie.
I don't know. You're right. I watch it because it's a Christmas movie.
June?
But that doesn't matter. But science is what matters.
So here's a great question. And I think this is only probative because, Will, you like this movie.
Yeah.
This is a personal question, and I don't want you to make a snap answer. I want you to think about it for a full 5 seconds when I ask you. You ready? When you watch this movie, when you choose to watch it, why are you watching it?
It brings me joy. It's funny. It's heartwarming.
Do you watch it because it brings you some of that Christmas spirit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You mentioned joy and happiness and whatever. So
yes, I don't watch it any other time of year. So
you watch it between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
It's beginning to end, packed with enough Christmas vibes and music and imagery that it gives me a Christmassy feeling. Absolutely.
I would think it would be rough for you to cut off your nose to spite your face here to set up some criteria that demonize one of your favorite Christmas films and make it not a Christmas film. Okay. It leads me to believe that the criteria it's almost like we need points. Like, Christmas time, 1 out of 5. Okay. And then Christmas paraphernalia, 1 out of 5. And you need a score. Like maybe you need a 23, or maybe you need, because Kat is saying if it's enough of the others, maybe you don't need one. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like rather than a binary is like, is it Christmassy or not? Well, it's a 2 out of 5 Christmassy, which makes it weak.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and I guess
I like that, like a scale. Yeah.
Or you make up your own criteria. I don't. You have your own 80s podcast then.
Get the out.
All right, just 2 others we want to talk about, and I know John, you had one on your mind among those. So what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. This is one that I think is very obviously in my bones, not a Christmas movie, but I think it meets all the criteria for a Christmas movie-ish.
Oh.
Okay. I can't wait to find out what this is.
So I'm going to just run through the criteria first, and then I'm going to snap the movie on you and tell you what it is. Okay. So first, does it happen at Christmas time? Close. It's around the holidays. It's Christmas adjacent. It's right in there. Okay. Is it Christmassy? In that the holiday spirit, snowy weather. So again, kind of Christmas-y. You could argue not.
Okay.
Is it about family? In 2 ways. Like this is if we're doing the scale, this is on a 5. It's about family. Okay. It's both about a family you make, and it's also about the family that you have or have lost. I mean, it's very impactful, the family element. And even back when we were talking redemption, yes. Furthermore, if we're talking about emotional growth, super yes. A 5.5 on a scale of 5. But this is wholly a Thanksgiving movie, planes, trains, and automobiles.
That's what I was going to guess. I know what you were talking about. Yes.
Now, admittedly, the Christmas time Christmassy is weak, but it's there because it's the holidays and it's leading into the holidays. And while it's Thanksgiving time, they're getting home for, and this is not like something I'm trying to make this a Christmas movie, but I was trying to think of a movie that kind of met the emotional chords were struck that you get in a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Especially with John Candy's character, who you find doesn't have his family any longer. And he's like adopted into this family. And it's huge. It's a great feel-good movie that I will watch around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I didn't get around to watching it for Thanksgiving usually.
Yes.
So I've made my case. What do you think?
I love that you brought this up because I had to check myself. Because at some point in the last couple of days, I was like, why isn't that on the list? Oh, Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason that I could come up with why it could not be in a discussion of Christmas movies. So that's great that you brought it up. I love that.
Mm.
And it could have been a Christmas movie. Yes. If you had just said they're trying to get home for Christmas instead.
Yeah.
Sure.
The whole movie still works.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily a reason in its favor. I'm just saying it could map it easily.
Well, it just happens to be at Thanksgiving.
Some of the folks' criteria that was suggested online that people have used is if you took Christmas out, would this film still essentially play the same way?
Mm.
So what you're suggesting there would be, I think, would be against your argument that it's a Christmas movie, that you could set it at any holiday. Then the Christmas stuff is just window dressing.
Right.
But I think that
I
think that criteria just sort of swallows up everything because any movie could be set at anything. I mean,
anytime, certainly.
Yeah.
That's not good. I don't know. I love that movie, by the way.
You see the angle that I'm coming from, at least, right?
I do, but
I'm not claiming it is a Christmas movie, but it feels, when I watch it, I get the feeling of a good Christmas movie.
Yeah, but
for all the same reasons.
I guess what I would say, John, because just thinking about my real life, when it hits, as soon as Halloween is gone, it's the Christmas season for us in my house. November 1st, it's Christmas season. I'm not kidding. November 1st.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh,
my daughter, like my wife, Halloween stuff's going, and Christmas stuff starts coming out. Mm-hmm. And it's not crazy yet because it's still, but no. And then after Thanksgiving, we get our tree on Black Friday, I mean, it's, so in that sense, I agree. Christmas season is longer, I guess, or bigger than that. And that's, I guess in that sense, that feeling you're talking about, I do agree. It lasts longer than Christmas time, certainly in the lead up to it. I don't know if I would say it a Christmas movie though, because they didn't choose to set it at Christmas. Like all the things you suggest that they could have, they didn't do. So
they
for me,
missed out those first two
it feels like one. I wouldn't say it is.
I absolutely agree with you, right? But I guess my point was not so much to convince you that this is a Christmas movie, but to show you how those criteria can apply to a film that gives you the Christmas movie joy without necessarily hitting you over the head with a candy cane.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, but I don't. I feel like what you're saying really is bolsters the idea of this criteria in a sense. Then
I think you're probably right. Yeah, right. It shows that this movie is so close but doesn't qualify because it doesn't score high enough on the first two criteria, even though it smacks the last two are 5s. Yeah. Family, 5 out of 5. Yes. Emotional growth, 5 out of 5.
Absolutely.
But the Christmas time. Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. And I realize those Christmassy and Christmas time. I don't know that we're going to think of a movie where you could separate those two. It's Christmas time, but not. Well, you could have a Christmas time and not Christmassy. Less Than Zero is a perfect example of that.
The other way around is tough.
The other way around is tough.
Well, and I mentioned Rocky IV earlier. That takes place at Christmas.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with Christmas.
Right.
It's not Christmassy. It's just Christmas time. So.
And come to think of it, Gremlins is almost in that category because there's so much, like gross and terrifying stuff that happens.
Yeah, it's almost not about Christmas other than that's the time of the year, really. Yeah.
Right.
All right, hey, look, this is the most this is the most controversial movie year after year. And we'll apply the criteria as we've tweaked it and we'll see if it works or not. And then if we're able to find some consensus among us, we're giving folks ammunition to argue this. The way this comes down. For the holidays, because every year people are arguing about this nonsense, and I think we can come to some kind of definitive answer. And I'm talking about Die Hard.
Right.
1988 film written by Jeb Stewart with revisions by Steven D'Souza. Remember Steven D'Souza? You remember we did that connected universe of films and Steven D'Souza wrote 3 of them in a TV show, and he created that fictional land that's in Predator and also in whatever anyway.
Yes.
And it was directed by John McTiernan. Okay, there you go. Of course, it's on Christmas Eve, Detective John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, arrives in Los Angeles, intending to reconcile with his estranged wife, Holly, played by Bonnie Bedelia. Is it set at Christmas time? Yeah, it's entirely on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah.
At a Christmas party. Christmassy, filled with Christmas. The first song is a Christmas song in the film, right? And it includes 5 other songs. And Beethoven's Ode to Joy, which wasn't originally composed for the holiday, but it's been adopted as a Christmas song. It's placed throughout the film and during some pivotal moments, including when they finally open that vault. Anyway, there's a whole lot of Christmas there. Is it about family? Yeah, because it's about, literally this guy is trying to get back to his family. John McClane is there to see his kids who are with his estranged wife. And I would argue that there's, sort of a found family to the point that you were saying, Kat, about folks can come together after an experience between Powell, the Los Angeles police officer, and McClane, who helps him navigate, this hostage situation that he's
absolutely.
Yep. Who they only get to meet in person at the very end.
Yeah.
Up until then, they're just a voice on a walkie.
Yeah. And it's a great moment when they hug and come together.
Oh, I love that moment. Yes.
All right. Instead of redemption, which I think we could argue there is, say emotional growth. Is there emotional growth?
For whom? For whom? It's been a couple years since I've seen Die Hard.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I think.
Who would you say?
I think though, squarely, John McClane, he reconciles with his wife come the end. He's got it seems, and we know it's temporary based on the franchise of films, but that he's got a newfound appreciation for her, love for her. And it does seem that there's a coming together at the end when they finally reunite after all of this drama. And also, Reginald VelJohnson's character that I mentioned, Officer Powell, he overcomes this paralyzing anxiety that he's had since he accidentally shot a kid. And he's able to draw his gun and save McClane from the bad guy who winds up surviving. Yeah. So I think both of them have growth, have even maybe to the extent of redemption.
Absolutely. Like if you could, being the character in the movie, if you could get past the trauma of everything that you've gone through, there has to be growth, right? There just has to be. I feel like in a way.
Yeah, Gremlins.
Well, I mean, but these guys came through on the other side, like they got through this really challenging thing and they made connections, like there was support, there was, supportive things happening. And so I feel like there's growth implicit in there. Okay. Definitely some trauma too, that needs working through. But yes, like not a redemption. There's not a redemption thing, but there's, there was a huge going through something that I can't help but think that there was growth in there.
I think this is another case where it reinforces my affinity for Kat's opinion that if some of the criteria are so strong, then maybe the fourth one need not be so strong. I feel like maybe you're reaching a little hard to find something close enough to redemption. Emotional growth is fine. Some personal growth is good in there. I don't think it's amazing emotional growth like in some other films, but it's enough for me that I would say it's enough to make it a Christmas film.
Yeah, you're right. Good enough for all of us.
Oh, definitely. And I'm not going to argue with somebody. If they want to call it a Christmas movie, go ahead. Like, I'm not going to die on any of these hills.
Depends on the film. If you want to fight me over It's a Wonderful Life, then we can go.
Okay, let's fight about it. Hey, let's go. All right, John, I don't know which way you come down. Let's just do a Wonderful Life right now. Look, is it set at Christmas time?
Yep.
Not all of it. I mean, half of it, all those flashbacks, a good 50% of it is seeing how he lived his life, all these different tragedies he wound up being. That's not Christmas.
Those are all flashbacks.
Yeah.
The film, the timeline of the film takes place at Christmas.
But that's like another 50%. I mean, that's half the runtime.
All right. That's fine. Carry on.
Is it Christmassy? I guess during those Christmas portions, yeah.
The part that we're there? Yes, of course.
Is it about family?
Damn straight.
Okay. I agree with you.
Huge. 5 out of 5.
Now, emotional growth, I'm willing to argue that there isn't any.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
Because the only is it for folks who need to know what the story is? I mean, George Bailey commits suicide because of a financial problem.
He attempts to.
He attempts to. But for his purpose, he was going to die. But
that's
for literally Deus
Clarence.
Ex Machina, an angel saving him.
Clarence was headed down already when he did it. That's minutia that doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
Okay. So,
but yes.
He's so distraught, he kills himself over a financial issue, the loss of $8,000. And then as a result, Clarence winds up looking at his life as it was and all the different things that happened. And a lot of bad stuff happens to George and to George's family and everybody that touches George, right? It's like his brother saves people in the war, right? It was Harry's his brother, right?
That's right.
George
Harry
winds up stopping someone from getting killed by the drugstore guy who's got bad vision or something like that. They lose the money. All these bad things happen that has George. Okay, actually, some of those are good, I guess, what I mentioned. So
they're all good.
Yeah, okay.
The whole point of the movie is Clarence showing him that he has, despite the adversity he has faced and the sacrifices he has made, that everything he has done has brought good to people's lives.
Okay.
And he realizes, I don't have it so bad. I have a wonderful life. He realizes, oh, I was woe is me because I didn't get to go off and travel the world like I thought I wanted to. But in doing my part, I was an important cog in this wheel, and he recognizes his worth and value. And it's further validated when, even though he knows he is going to prison and he's ready to go to prison, he comes home to his family.
Yeah.
He hugs his family. He's got Zuzu's flowers. It's all there. And then I'm going to cry. The outpouring of people coming in, dropping money in. Even the bank examiner is donating money to the cause. And he shows that, oh, I have a fantastic life. I was just down on myself because it wasn't the life I thought I wanted.
Yeah.
I guess I was ready to argue that, is he really changed? Now you're saying his perspective on how his life is shitty and challenged and can't get a break sometimes, but he's still going to live that life. He's not going to.
Isn't perspective everything though?
That's a great point that I think you could debate ad infinitum about whether he is changed or his outlook changed and how much is important. You have an excellent point, Will. And Kat, you have the point that I would have made, which is he is a changed person. He has evolved, and I think that's emotional growth. It's not change. It's not redemption. It's emotional growth. And I think that's why that tweak to the criteria matters so much.
I guess I feel like he comes away with like, it could be, my life could be worse, or it's not so bad, instead of making it better. Again, I keep thinking about the Scrooge thing. He decides at the end he's going to change, not only his perspective changes, his actions change.
There's action, right? There's behaviors that
Well, the thing is, he doesn't need redemption.
Well, George is like status quo.
George has always been a giver. He has always been a benefactor. He has always been sacrificing. He's already a good person, and he thinks it's cost him a life. But he finds out ultimately, all those good things you did, they've done immeasurable good. So now you can feel good about that, where there's the emotional growth.
There's an inner redemption going on. It's a different kind of redemption.
Yeah, it's a vindication is what it is. Yeah, it's a validation of his life.
Okay.
Yes, which he needed desperately, right?
Yeah, he was ready to die. He's like, I'm worth more dead than I am alive. Right. And he's like, well, if you were dead, look at all the stuff that's not going to happen. And look at everybody if you didn't ever existed. So,
Yeah.
Love that movie.
All right, I'll concede it.
Merry New Year!
Aww. Thank you, Mr. Valentine.
All right, hey, look, there's plenty of others that we could do. And in fact, I've got a video where I did a handful of other films applying this criteria that has now been debunked, it seems, maybe. But I'll post that so you folks can check that out. And maybe if you guys will indulge me when we have some time in the future, maybe we'll do some of these other films.
Oh, yeah. Just give me plenty of notice so I can watch them all or rewatch them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe every episode in December, we just do a film. We just do one more film. No, probably not. That sounds boring. All right, hey, that was our show. Now, if we apply this criteria to this episode, which is, it's still November, but it's about to launch officially into December here.
Yeah.
Is it set at Christmas time? Was November, the last week of November, early December, Christmas time? Yeah, right?
I mean, by planes, trains, and automobile logic, yeah, kind of.
Okay. Is it Christmassy? All we did was talk about Christmas movies.
Well, and talked about ones that weren't, but okay.
Okay, that's true.
A little bit of both.
You get a 3 out of 5.
But there you go. That's It's a Wonderful Life, 50-50. Half the time was flashbacks to shitty movies.
Right.
Is it about family? Or I'd say our found family here.
Oh,
three of us.
yeah.
Tale of Redemption. I feel like John was redeemed and I was put in shitter. I don't know.
No, I feel like Will was redeemed.
Oh, I'm back.
You had emotional growth in that you found a way to open your heart to changing your criteria
there you go.
Based on rational, logical, and emotional reasons.
That's very good. So with regard to our show.
Merry New Year!
Okay, there you go. All right, Kat, that was the show. Now that we know.
And this Christmassy show is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters like Karen Flieger and Rick Parker.
All right.
And a big thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success Level Patreon supporters like Tony Great, Nick Guillory, Craig Coletta, Matt Marino, John Henderson, Brandon Greer, and Marcus Taylor.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks, guys, for supporting our show. We thoroughly appreciate it. If you're able to give us any money, please visit us at 1980snow.com/support. Or just go straight to patreon.com/1980snow and give us the money.
That would help us feel Christmassy.
Would help you feel Christmassy, you think?
That would help us feel Christmassy if someone gives a gift of becoming a patron or just makes a one-time donation.
Ho, ho, ho.
Whatever. That's nonsense.
Ho, ho,
More
ho,
than that, because you know what, Kat? Our vendors do not accept Christmassy as a payment, but they take cash, and that's what we need, cash. So if you're able to send money, that's great. If you're not, hey, give us, if you're not able to send any money in, including $1 or $2, come on, seriously. There's a number of different free ways you can support the show, including just
send some jewelry you don't want anymore.
Yes. We'll put it on our eBay store.
Keep on it. Yeah.
There you go.
I'll wear it on our next live.
But you can just make a comment on Facebook or on Instagram, or share an episode, or follow us on one of those platforms, or the platform you're listening to, or do one of the things that folks did here. Like, for example, Megan, with regard to our episode about the Filthy 15. Megan wrote, this episode was, and she puts 3 laugh emojis.
Yes.
And then she says, quote, strap on for Jesus, quote, I need a warning label for this shit.
I love the double.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
John's doing. And for the record, my mother was the one who told me what shebop meant back in the 1980s. I may still be slightly traumatized. With regard to that same episode, Craig wrote, I was surprised that so many people didn't realize what shebop was about, but then I had perverted friends to clue me in. I also watched the video. It's pretty obvious. I don't recall the video. Is she masturbating in the video?
I meant to rewatch it and I forgot. Thank you for the reminder.
I don't know how. And as I mentioned, I had no idea what it was about. I don't know if the video would have helped. Charlene writes, I had no idea what shebop was about. So there you go.
There you go. There's the one.
And Dave writes, you guys are hilarious. You are all clearly having such a great time. Yes, Dave, we agree.
Yeah.
I am.
When we're awake.
Yeah. Hey, we will have another wide awake, great time. John waited to, what did he say? I couldn't pick on you unless, but he could.
Yeah, I got one for you. Okay, don't worry.
John's on it.
We will be wide awake when we talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Just like this time.
Bye-bye, you old building and loan.